Uber drivers, what's the deepest secrets you've overheard in your car? I picked up this young overly affectionate couple that spent the entire trip making out in my backseat and telling each other that they loved each other. Cute. So I drop off the couple and head on my way to pick up my text fare. I hear a cell phone ring in my backseat, realize it's my previous rides, and pick up the phone to let them know I have it and I'll come back to drop it off. Turns out it was the guy's wife phoning to check in on him while he was on a business trip, which he was thoroughly enjoying with his mistress. Watch this video until the end for good luck. Former Uber driver here. Picked a girl up, a sweet girl from a bar on a Wednesday night, absolutely hammered, about 10 PM. She got into my car, apologized for being so drunk and politely asked if we could just drive around a little while with the windows down. I was prepping for a cleaning fee, trying to drive and pull a vomit bag out of the glove box, but no, she just did that airplane thing with one hand out the backseat window. She asked me if I had ever thought about dying, to which I replied, yeah, I guess so. That's when she told me that she had cancer. It was in her brain, and it was too far gone to consider chemo. I remember my heart just pounding. She told me she was dying and she was going to be okay. Tonight she was celebrating with her work friends who threw her a going away party. She told them she was taking a position abroad. I just didn't tell them that abroad was heaven. Jesus f***ing Christ. I turned off my app and cried my ass all the way home. One time I was driving a dude for a bit of a long trip. Was gonna take around 25 to 30 minutes. He wasn't hammered, but definitely a bit drunk. It was late, and he must have been feeling a bit down, so he confided in me and asked me for some advice. He told me he's madly in love with his fiance's best friend and he couldn't back out now. He'd been with this girl for years and engaged for one, ready to be married in a few months. It was pretty sad to hear, because it wasn't just your average story. It was filled with a lot of subtle emotional and mental anguish. The guy went through about 5 years of ups and downs with his girl and found an innocent friend and comfort in the best friend. After a few years, he developed feelings, and it was just downhill from there. Felt bad for the guy because he seemed like he was truly in love with his fiancée too, although he had strong feelings for this friend. He knew that going through with a marriage meant a lifetime of being around the friend and suppressing feelings, but also breaking it off meant that he lost the girl of his dreams. Seemed like a genuinely nice guy, and I hoped he's doing okay. Drove Uber one night. It was pretty tame until I picked up two guys who wanted to go to a strip club 40 miles away. As they requested an Uber Select fare, I was happy to drive that far. $80-100. It took them 15 minutes to get ready and into the car and they seemed cool, so I wasn't worried. As soon as we got on the freeway, the guy in the passenger seat started asking about Uber driving and things got dark. After a few minutes he started saying shit like, what would you do if someone just grabbed the steering wheel and ran the car into the median, and have you ever thought about what would happen if someone in the backseat tried to strangle you while you were driving? I got a little freaked out and tried to lighten the mood by asking what they were celebrating, etc. But the one guy just kept at it. I was happy to get to the strip club and get them the hell out of the car. Bonus was the bouncer at the club gave me $40 for dropping them off there. I never drove Uber again. That. It wasn't so much weird as it was random, but my first night driving for Uber or Lyft, I picked up a dude at 2:30 AM that was finishing up a pub crawl. The dude was dressed in a purple dinosaur onishi and was hammered. He got in and started telling me his entire life story and how he came out to his parents and moved across the country the next day. I know this is the opposite of what you asked, because I'm a passenger, not a driver. I had an Iraqi driver tell me he was an engineer in Iraq before the first Gulf War and he developed a superior means of gilding furniture, chandeliers etc, which you can imagine was hot in pre-war Hassan-vile. Well, Uday wanted to go into business with him, but, and this is a direct quote, first Uday wants to be your partner in business, then he wants to be partner in your wife. Words to live by. Took this 19-year-old kids and what I assumed was his GF back to her house on Pride weekend in SF. They made out the whole ride. When I dropped them off, only she got out. He said, take me to Castro and 18th. I said really? And he said yeah, I only make out with girls when I'm rolling. Never a dull moment in San Francisco. I picked someone up here in Memphis and took them to a shady apartment. They came out smelling like some really good kush. I asked them to go back in and get me some. Got paid, got weed, and got a new dealer out of it. Two girls taking about how they the same guy. Both agreed his was too big and he was hurting them by lasting too long. Both concluded he was gay. Two middle-aged couples trying to agree to a foursome. Once I had an extremely drunk middle-aged couple fight for an entire 30-minute ride. They attempted to bring me into their fight many times. I just pretended like I was deaf and didn't answer when they tried to rope me into it. Two 40-something guys who I picked up from a bar were talking on a phone speaker and they were trying to make plans with a third guy who was at a party with a bunch of drunk 12th graders. Exact words. One guy in my car asked if there was anyone younger there. Other dude said dude really, followed by silence. Then he said f***ing sweet. Not sure as there was missing context, but it sounded like there was younger teenagers there already drunk and these older dudes were going to pick up. My friend Ubers in my hometown picked up some really nice girls out on first Friday. They are talking about their plans for next autumn. Guy thinks he recognizes one of them. Turns out to be my younger sister and he tells me all about it. And that's how I found out my little sister was moving to Spain. I haven't really heard anything too juicy, but so far my favorite was this one. I picked up two guys in downtown LA. From their conversation I gather they just met at the bar I picked them up from and were going home to hook up. One was younger and clean cut, the other was older and rather scruffy. So I'm driving up Main Street to the 101 and the scruffy guy starts talking about how he used to live there in the 90s and it was a whole lot scummier back then. He mentions he used to have an older boyfriend back then. The boyfriend would call the scruffy guy and tell him to walk down to the sidewalk in a tied-off shirt and Daisy Dukes. Then the boyfriend would drive up in his car and the scruffy guy would lean in his window and the boyfriend would ask him how much and the scruffy guy would get in and they'd role play that he was a prostitute and the boyfriend was his John. The clean cut guy kinda glossed over this and moved the conversation along, but I thought to myself that scenario sounds hot as hell. I picked up a guy from a gay bar and he was noticeably coming on to me. He then confessed that he was one of the founders of a very popular gaming company and offered me $2,000 to come up to his room. He also refused to leave my car unless I kissed his hand. Fun times. Picked up a girl mid-Saturday. She was a bit upset and a little teary and opened up to me. Turned out a business she had started was failing and she was in debt and had turned to stripping on the side to cover the bills. She said the pay was good, but she kept getting really sick from all the booze she felt obliged to drink. Part of her job was making guys spend money at the bar. She hated it and felt trapped and kept asking me what I would do in her situation. I'm a guy, so kind of hard for me to answer. Tried to give her the best advice I could think of, like getting the tax office to withhold tax for a while, but couldn't help really. Only thing I could do was end the trip early. Other one was a couple of off-duty cops who didn't want their friends to know they were using it. Uber is still in a legal gray area here. I'm not an Uber driver, but I have one that was told to me. This driver told me that he picked up his last fare for the day and it did not have a final destination. The dude gets in the car coked out of his mind yelling on the phone. The guy says drive to Vegas, here, and the guy tosses $500 bucks at him. That is on top of the Uber fare, which apparently was surge pricing. So the guy drives him to Vegas. From Los Angeles takes about 4 hours. The whole time the guy is talking or yelling on the phone to his mom. They get to Vegas and he drops the dude off at some mansion where his mom is outside waiting to yell at him. Apparently the guy forgot about giving him the cash because he tossed another few $100 at him, got out of the car and split. Oh man, something relevant to me and I'm late. I had someone get in my car, told me he's in his late 20s and that he's having sex with a girl who just recently turned 18. I awkwardly told him that's good for him and he proceeded to tell me that it's not, that his life sucks and everything he does to make himself happy doesn't work. He told me he watches vids of people committing suicide and wishes he had the courage they did to go through with it. He told me he's going to go to San Francisco and spend every last penny he has on vacation and just jump off the Golden Gate Bridge when he's done. I didn't really know what to say. When I dropped him off, I told him that I hope things start looking up, and he just said they won't. They never do, and left. He also asked weird questions like, if I hit you, would you kick my ass? When I said I'd rather no one hit anyone, he said, dude, you'd whoop my ass, I'm a fucking piece of shit. Hope he got help. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Let us know your thoughts on this topic. See you soon.